Hello booktubers, my name is Lauren and you're watching Dreams Books Courage, and today I'm going to be doing a book discussion over Milk and Honey by Rupi Kaur. In 2016, I'm not sure if I did any book discussions whatsoever, and I definitely want to change that in the new year, and we'll see how it goes, but so far I'm at least going to be doing one book review, which is probably an improvement on last year. And I would say that this is a non-spoilery book review because it is a poetry collection, so although I might mention some particular poems, there's not really anything to spoil because there's no like big conclusion or anything like that. So if you want to hear more about this poetry collection, definitely keep on watching. So as I said before, I'm going to be talking about Milk and Honey by Rupi Kaur, and this is a poetry collection that is divided into 4 chapters, those chapters being the hurting, the loving, the breaking, and the healing. And depending on how you're feeling about your life whenever you're reading this, you will relate most to one specific chapter. So first off, I'll be talking about general pros and cons of this poetry collection, and then I will be talking about the specific chapters and some of my favorite poems. So first off, I really enjoyed this collection. I don't read a lot of modern poetry, especially since this past semester I took a poetry class and that mainly focuses on the classic poets such as Eliot and Robert Frost and poets like that. So it was very refreshing to read a modern poetry collection, and also one that is from a woman because most of the classical poets are men. Plus these topics were very relatable to current day. They dealt with a lot of hard issues but also a lot of very realistic issues that a lot of people are too scared to talk about, so I'm glad that Rupi Kaur did. And I feel like this is a very poignant read for 2017 and just moving forward individually and together. I feel like everyone can get a lot out of this, whether you're a woman or a man, and I really enjoyed reading the entire collection. It's a very quick read. It'd probably take you under 2 hours to read the whole thing. It probably took me an hour and a half because I just wanted to really think about the poem, and sometimes I read over the poems multiple times. The one con I have about this collection is that sometimes I felt like the poems just felt very cliche sounding, and they sounded like something I've heard a million times before. So in those moments, it really took me out of reading it, and it was hard to like get back into it. But for the most part, these poems were very realistic and unlike anything I've ever read. So let's go ahead and get into talking about the individual chapters. So the first chapter of this collection is The Hurting, and this was definitely the hardest chapter to read. It definitely talked a lot about how women are treated unequally and how they are sexually harassed and things like that. It was very hard for me to read, but it was also very realistic and something that needs to be read by everyone. My favorite poem for The Hurting is Untitled, but I'll read the poem to you. You tell me to quiet down because my opinions make me less beautiful. But I was not made with a fire in my belly so I could be put out. I was not made with a lightness on my tongue so I could be easy to swallow. I was made heavy, half blade and half silk, difficult to forget and not easy for the mind to follow. So although the Hurting collection includes a lot of things that are very hard to read, this one was one that really stuck to me because it really shows the strength of a woman and just carrying on and things like that I really appreciate and definitely can relate to. So the next section is The Loving, and I personally feel like I related to this one the most. I really enjoyed the section, although some poems felt uncomfortable for me to read, but they were realistic and I think it was just me personally being uncomfortable. This is not just about mental love, it's also about physical love, which I definitely did not expect going into it, but of course that is part of love and part of a relationship, so it was interesting to look at both sides of it. And being in a relationship myself, it definitely reminds me of both the hard parts and the wonderful parts of what being in a relationship consists of. And the poem that I'm about to read to you definitely reflects that. This poem is titled The Type of Lover I Need. I need someone who knows struggle as well as I do. Someone willing to hold my feet in their lap on days it is too difficult to stand. The type of person who gives exactly what I need before I even know I need it. The type of lover who hears me even when I do not speak is the type of understanding I demand. And so I really enjoyed that poem because for one thing, it really shows you what a relationship should be, and also the type of person you should look for in a relationship who will be strong for you and with you, and who you can also be strong for. So I really appreciated that, and this chapter overall was just very realistic to what relationships are really like, so I definitely related to that chapter the most. The next chapter is titled The Breaking, and this chapter to me was mostly about not just having broken up with someone, but what leads up to breaking up with someone, which I found very interesting, and it's definitely part of a relationship that people usually don't talk about when they know they're going to break up, but neither one of them wants to. And so again, this is very realistic to real life and how relationships work, and also how they break, which is definitely the saddest part of a relationship. So I'll read you a poem from this section, and again, it's untitled. I don't know what living a balanced life feels like. When I am sad, I don't cry, I pour. When I am happy, I don't smile, I glow. When I am angry, I don't yell, I burn. The good thing about feeling in extremes is, when I love, I give them wings. But perhaps that isn't such a good thing, 'cause they always tend to leave. And you should see me when my heart is broken. I don't grieve, I shatter. And I personally could relate to that because I also feel like I live in extremes. And my emotions are always like that too, although I'm usually happy. But if I'm not, I definitely do feel extreme emotions like that. I love poetry for that reason because it is so relatable to so many people. And then the fourth and final chapter is the healing. And this chapter is of course about the healing after a breakup and just healing in general, no matter where you're at within your life and whatever you need to heal from. There's so many things that people need to heal from, and I feel like they usually don't take the time to heal from those things. So this was also a really great chapter to read, and I think it's great that this one is the final chapter. And so the poem that I most liked from this section is also untitled, but it says, most importantly, love, like it's the only thing you know how. At the end of the day, all this means nothing. This page where you're sitting, your degree, your job, the money, nothing even matters, except love and human connection. Who you loved and how deeply you loved them, how you touched the people around you, and how much you gave them. I just really like that poem because for one thing, it makes me feel less anxiety about different things in my life, and also being around the people I love most is definitely my favorite thing to do, so I can really relate to that. For the most part, I feel like I just read happier poems from this collection, but there are definitely a lot of more sad and more realistic poems. Those are just ones that really stuck to me and I found very relatable. And personally, I usually just like more uplifting things than sad things. But I would definitely recommend that you read the entire collection for yourself. It's really great, and no matter where you're at in your life, I feel like you can probably relate to one of these sections. It was definitely a great first read of 2017, and I'm really glad that I read it. If you've read Milk and Honey, I would love to hear your thoughts on it down below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Now I'm gonna go get back to reading.